Well. It must be a Wednesday night because I'm looking at the original Coach Carter, and you look like you warm, man. You look like you warm.
You better believe that. We're looking at 16 degrees right now here in the great state of Tennessee, and I am warm. Trust me, I am very warm. But I love it outside. We had a snow day today. It snowed this morning. Canceled school, so it's been a great day.
Oh,
Kind of kick
oh,
back and relax in the middle of the week.
welcome to Youth Central Sports. I'm Charles Morse with the original Coach Carter, which means he had a day off today. Man, you got a chance to chill
In
when
mid,
you had a chance to
I did.
chill.
I did some chilling too. I really did.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, this Youth Central Sports where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. right here at www.youthcentralsports.com. Also live on Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook. Make sure that you like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. And for those that are watching, we want you to post because later on we're going to ask you who is going to be your Super Bowl winner this coming Sunday. So we're going to ask that question a little bit later. And thank you for joining us. So you got to give us a little bit more on the weather report up there in Tennessee, Coach
Well,
Scott.
the weather in this part of the country has been, from a temperature standpoint, it's cold. We haven't been getting as much snow, but it's all around us, going north of us, west of us. A lot of snow. We were fortunate, I guess, in the sense to get some little snow this morning. Didn't last long, but it was enough to shut the school down for today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Temperatures overnight will be somewhere between 17 and 15 tonight. In the next I think the next 3 days we're gonna have below 20, 30 and below. So it's gonna be chilly. It's gonna be real chilly. We haven't seen much real snow this year. This is our first snow day. Last year we actually had about 10 days. This year we're only having the one. Regardless of the snow, it is very cold, but it's functional weather. You got to wrap up and get it done, but it's been cold. I'm enjoying it. I must admit, I'm glad to see the snow. Wish it had stayed a little longer, but that's so be it.
Well, the thing is that there's a lot of records that's going to be broken in the next couple of. Well, actually, that's being broken right now. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
I mean, especially up in. It's funny because I have a cousin that she got married a few years ago. She's actually, I think, about 4 years older than me. So she got married later on in life, and just she recently retired. Now she has always worked out of Philadelphia. For a long time, she commuted from Trenton, New Jersey to Philly. Then she finally just kind of like moved to Philly. But I tease her because she just retired and retired to Chicago. Like,
Mm.
you need to
Possibility
come
of
to,
75 below tonight over the
yeah,
next day or so.
yeah. So I'm like, you retired to Chicago, but that's where her husband is from. So that's where his family is. So I tease her all the time, especially this time
And
of year.
looking at the weather, the river downtown is frozen. The street people moving in the street has come to almost a halt. Public transportation. I mean, and they're continually getting snow. The temperature, they were said yesterday that it would be colder in Chicago than Antarctica.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
To
I
that.
I saw them
It's
doing a
severe weather there.
yeah, I saw them doing a report on CNN, and they were showing where like the police department was riding around, and they actually helped one man up that really couldn't walk, but then there was another man that was in. He had his little area covered, but he was in a box, but he had it covered. But where he was at that time, it was 20 below zero. So
Mhm.
they told him, come on, you got to come go with us because you can't stay here. And they did. They took him to a shelter somewhere, and you saw him eating and stuff like that. And they spoke to him, and he said he was happy because he knew that he wouldn't be able to survive in this little area that he was. But that's what they're doing. They're riding around trying to find homeless people and take them somewhere so they can find some shelter. So that's a
They had a
blessing.
tragic accident in Milwaukee where a lady was hit by a car, and she was found obviously dead under the car, frozen to the pavement where she bled. and they had to come and she was when her blood had froze to the ground. That's how bad it was, and what they were trying to figure out how long had she been there. How it seems like she may have gotten hit and nobody knew it. But
Wow.
that's how cold it is. I mean, it's that bad. That's in Milwaukee where they're like 21 below. So that's some severe weather, but life goes on, but it's still very, very severe. And they're telling you, got to cover your skin because you get frostbite in a heartbeat. I mean, a matter of seconds. So that's brutal. That is
Right.
brutal.
Right.
That's brutal.
You
I
know,
love I love the seasons, and I love seeing some snow on the ground. But those kind of temperatures, man, that's hard for me to. Man, I've lived in Europe for a while, and I've been through some real cold winters, but um, not every day.
I'm gonna try to test your memory. I don't remember who the other team was, but I remember a playoff game that Dan Fouts played in San Diego when they was fully charged with that super potent offense they had. And they went
Hmm.
into the playoffs and they played a game where it was like some crazy degrees, Vince. And I don't forgot who
Yeah, it
saying
was covered with snow.
it was minus something. It was like crazy cold, and it was a playoff game. And I think that was the reason why, San Diego, why Dan Faustin lost that game. But because I was pulling for them because they was fun to watch back then.
Right.
When they had that high powered offense. And I always felt like, I mean, they're never not gonna play the game, but it was so cold that I thought that they should have postponed that game. Of course they're not gonna do that, but it was just so
Well,
unbearably cold.
yeah, it have to be some extenuating circumstances in order. I mean, it's really got to be like lightning would cause you to postpone the game, a hurricane or a tornado. The things that happen when you talk about snow and ice and stuff like that. Sometimes, I don't know if they've had the experience yet to have that much. I know they've had a lot of snow on the ground, but to have that ice on the ground, that's going to bring everything to a halt because they can't get to the facility, or they can't get away from it if it happens
Right.
while they're there. But a lot of time in those outdoors arenas, they do what they can to make sure that game goes on because a heck of a lot of coordination goes into putting all that together schedule wise and all of that. And then when you decide not to have that, now you got to, those now everybody got to get back. So it's tough, but they're gonna play it unless. And I've seen them play it when in blizzards. I mean, the flurries are so strong you can barely see it, but they play it anyway. Equal opportunity conditions to get out there and compete. That's why I've advocated, especially on the football side, man. Y'all need to have indoor arenas. Play the Super Bowl every year indoor somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, and we're gonna talk about the football in a minute, but the last 2 years in a row, the Pro Bowl here in Orlando, because they
yes.
were under a 3-year contract. The first year was fine, but the
Hmm.
last 2 years, especially this past Sunday, man, the weather was not football favorable. Because it
Okay.
rained, it rained, it rained, it rained, it rained, and so. But for the people here, that is not unusual for a football fan where they're coming from, basically what we're talking about now. Because if you in Green Bay, this weather, what they had this past Sunday was nothing. you
Well,
know,
yeah, you replacing rain with snow,
right,
and
right. Plus,
but I think
y-
it's good that they do move it around so that people, not everybody is able to travel the opportunity to see the Pro Bowl or the NBA All-Star game take place, and so by moving it around, I think it's great for everybody to have a chance if they can, or to participate in the festivities. On the football side, I mean, it's one of those situations. We hope it's a good, clear day, but if it's not, we got to play the game anyway. So it's one of those things like it's by chance, by chance you have that. But I was really excited that it's in Florida for those 3 years because I think it's great for the community, great for the fan, great for the players. Ordinarily, we'd have typical Florida weather, and that we might not be nearly as cold, kind of warm, but then you always have to factor in that rain factor.
Yeah. Well, let's before we get into our normal sports talk here, you got to give us an update on how your team doing.
Well, we won a very close game last night by 1 point.
Oh,
At
a
one point, we
thriller.
were down by 11.
Oh, a
Um,
real thriller.
fell 11. We were able to come down in the fourth quarter. We were down by 7 with a minute and 30 to go,
Okay.
and went down 4, went back up 7. Under a minute, we hit a big shot, took a great foul, took a great charge, a great foul, a charge foul, and then the kid just did a fantastic of taking getting a foul. And then we went down and made a great shot, 3-point shot that put us ahead. And then we went full court press, put some press on him, made it difficult for him, and pulled out a great win. Having been down at one point, down we were down by 13.
Hmm.
So it was exciting right down to the last minute. Really proud of the kids. One of the things that about sport, we had a young man who was struggling in the first half. Things not was not playing well at all. Had 3 crucial turnovers. Came back and took him out, set him down a little bit. Second half, he comes out and he's the guy that gave us the winning shot to pull it off. I mean, it was just exciting. I had the best seat in the house, and it was so excited to sit there. And I think what I get out of it more than anything else is the excitement of the kids. Yeah, I want to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited to win, but it was so exciting to see the expression on their face, the excitement in there, and the way they carried it. I mean, it was just, I mean, the whole, even the people that were team that we were playing, and we were on the road at that. We were on the
Oh,
road at that. So it was a great win. Very exciting. So got another big one on Friday. We're at the tail end of the season now. So every game, and this is all district play. So every game is important. Every game is big.
now I'm gonna pretend that none of your students or athletes are watching. So I asked the question: Is the team playing? Is the team better than what you thought? Or is it where you thought they would be? How is the team? Is what you thought at the beginning of the season and where they are now?
We, my expectation was we are progressing at a rate a little in one area faster than I thought. We were ahead of where I thought we would be, and in another area we're behind a little bit of what I thought we might be. So
Okay.
in those two phases of the game, but when you look, even looking at, if you will, a plus and a minus, it equals out to them hitting the point that they need to be at going in this time of the year. So the short answer, I would guess, would say they're on schedule. They're pretty much on schedule where we need them to be, because we're looking at decision making. You know how we play the game. I think having to really get in and struggle and fight to win games is a huge plus. But that's a great comeback for them. I hope that would give them confidence as we go into our next 3 games and get us ready for district playoff. Uh, as I said, one phase of their game is they're ahead of schedule. I mean, they're very much ahead of schedule. And the other phase is slightly behind, but it's catching up really quick. So by playoff time, we should be right where we need to be. I don't know if they could ever get where I want them to be, but I think they're right where they need to be.
let me before we get into it, let me share something with you real quick. The young lady that I told you that I used to coach when when I was coaching girls basketball, and I'm coaching her son now.
Hmm.
And she is now, when I started coaching her, she was 9 years old. Her son is now 9 years old. She
Hmm.
told me, I asked her, because you know how the years go by and you don't realize the years go by, Vince. And I'm thinking that maybe she's like maybe 21, 22 years old. She told me that she's now 30. I'm like,
Hmm.
you 30 years
Hmm.
old? Like,
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
what?
Isn't that amazing?
So
Yeah,
I'm
I know
like,
the feeling.
okay. But the funny thing is, Vince, she was 9, he's 9. And she, to me, which is true, even though he's, I think, was playing ball a little bit earlier than her, to me, her skill level and her fundamentals were better than when she was 9. And I think because of the stuff they see on TV and da 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 and all this other stuff. But the funny and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I work with him. So she has been out there a couple of times watching me, and she like yelled to me like 3 times. Why you let him get away with that? You would have never let me get away with that. What's up with that? And it's the funniest thing. And she looking at me like, you wouldn't let me get away. Why you not saying anything to him? So I'm trying to feel him out in a sense because he's coaching girls to me is easier than it is coaching the boys because that's what I like. I like because they listen. And the funniest thing, man, it is so funny because he think he can play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try to talk to him, and I make reference in a way that I try to say something in reference to his mom and him both being 9, and I try to spin it to him to help him to understand that he needs to work. And what does that mean? So when I finally went to see him play 2 weeks ago, now the grandmother is sitting right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother. Mm-hmm. The mother is sitting to the left of me. He's playing. And every time something happens, they both turn around and yelling at me, you need to get on his case. And I'm sitting there like this right here. And then what I'm saying is like, are y'all forgetting how she played and how all of them played when they were 9? Remember, they couldn't play, they couldn't dribble, they couldn't shoot. Why all of a sudden he's supposed to be all of this? You guys have very short memories because that's how they played when they was 9. So it was, but I share that to say it's interesting because his mother is looking at me and saying, why are you so soft on my son?
That's a little bit unusual.
Yeah, because she know how I was on her. That's what it is.
That's different.
And the reason why was because her mother and I were friends, and she was the one that called me to coach, and she played basketball. So I had free reign on her. So I could I could deal with her differently than I could all the other kids. And I used to take her one-on-one. I used to take her to the weight room. I used to sign them up for the 3-on-3 when the 3-on-3 hoop it up used to come to town. I used to have them in the 3-on-3 hoop it up and so on and so forth. So we used to go to lunch, we used to go to dinner, we used to go, like the Urban League would have these things and I would take her and all this stuff. So we spent a lot of time together. And so through just handling the weight room and doing this and doing that, and so she's looking at me and she's looking at me like, you wouldn't let me get away with that. What's up with that? So I'm still trying to get his confidence in me. I mean, we have a good relationship. I mean, he's finding me, he's a good kid, but still I keep saying to her, he's lazy. He's lazy, so I gotta work on that laziness, because he does everything half speed.
Yeah, today's parents are different than parents then. Obviously, the players are different. I think the one advantage that kids today have is a lot of basketball being played. It's a year-round sport, and if a young player wants to get better, there's a lot of opportunity for him or her to get out there and really, really work on their game. The parenting side has changed, in my opinion, drastically, and not necessarily for the good, because a lot of parents have unrealistic expectations of their kid. They want their kid to be treated a specific kind of way, which is very hard to do in group sports or team sports, because you got to I believe the team comes first, and then we try to get everybody to get their contribution. So you got a different kind of dynamic. This particular parent that you're describing is very unusual for today's parent. because what they're looking at is don't yell at my child, don't treat him pick the kind of way he's expected to be treated. But team sport doesn't necessarily allow that, as you
Hmm.
very well know. And so that's a unique situation. Gosh knows that's I think that's a heck of a situation to be in,
Yeah.
as, a, as opposed to what you see. But at the end of the day, the coach has got to make the decision that he thinks is best for the team. And sometimes, obviously parents agree, players agree, and sometimes they don't. It doesn't matter. Um, as long as it's a basketball situation, you're not mistreating anybody, you're not being unfair to a kid, degrading him or anything to that. But I got to do what I think is right for the team, and you've got to contribute at a level that makes me want to use you. And
Right.
it's just that simple. And but it sounds when you hear it described by parents today, even by kids today, because kids have now learned to provide the same excuses their parents provide. You look at it and go, you're missing the boat. It's not about you. It's
Right.
about the team. So
Right. Exactly.
are you a unique situation? Very unique. I wish that there were more parents like that who understand
Yeah,
what
really.
it takes to play team sport, what it really takes to play team sport.
Well, that was why she brought him to me because she she knows how I was on her, okay,
Hmm.
and and like I said, I don't know if you remember the conversation, but she taught me a lot. I mean, she really did, Vince, because I don't because when they're that young, I mean, I coached her for 5 years. I mean, it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I basically really stopped coaching her when she was 14 years old. She got more into other
Hmm.
stuff and da da da, which is another story. I'll share that with you, some other time, because she kind of stepped away from it, but then she wanted to come back, and we still talk about that because she said you should have made me, and I'm like, no, I am not. I was not your daddy. No,
I don't
because
think you can make a player.
right.
I don't think
Well,
that's a decision the player has to
actually,
make.
you know what? This is what I share. When she stepped away for a minute, because she got more into the dance event, she started getting into dancing. Because when girls get, well, kids in general, when they get older, they get into other stuff. So as she got
Right.
older as a teenager, she got into dancing and some miming and some other stuff. And then I didn't realize it when she was in like 11th grade. I didn't realize it until years later. She was she was calling on me to come help her get back into that state of mind. And I didn't realize it at that time. And that's what we really talk about because I miss that window and I miss what she was really calling me for. I missed it because she had missed it. She had missed playing and she wanted to get back into it because my whole time I was telling her that she can get a free education. You need to do this because you can go to school and you can go to college for free. And so
Mhm.
when she was in 10th and 11th grade, when she was calling me and I didn't really understand the reasoning why and what she was asking me. I missed it. And so we still talk about that to the day. And she still
Mhm.
sometimes want to say, I'm sorry that I stepped away the way that I did, because she has apologized to that because I used to always be on her about a free education.
Yeah. Well, today in today's sport, you have a lot of kids that play multiple sports, and you some of them are very good in their multiple sports. They have one that they love.
Well,
So I know we encourage a kid to play multiple sports. We try to fit it in that he can play basketball. If he plays football, we try to work with baseball or whatever. Because sometimes I think sport is good for kids that were around them. Some of them just have multiple talents, and you just you don't want to deny one for another. But find yourself, find out where you are.
Well,
Uh,
the son
Participate
was
as
just
mentioned.
coming off the football season because he plays quarterback, in football. So he was just coming off
Well,
as
it's a good
soon as the
condition.
it, as soon as the football season was over. She was calling me and saying, "We need to start working on the basketball now. And can you find a basketball team for him to play on?" So once I told her where to
Well,
go, she went, found the team, and then I started working with him on the basketball.
Well, it's good. I've always felt that if a kid can do that, male and or female, keeps them in shape throughout the year. You learn a new set of skills, or you transfer skills in some cases. Other situations, you learn new skills, but you keep your body in shape. And that's important when you come back around to your season, that you come into the season in pretty good shape. You just have to become in shape for that specific sport, what that sport would demand. But overall, your body's in good shape. Your cardiovascular is good. You know, your muscle flexibility is good. It's good. It's good for kids. I mean, and now there are some kids that don't handle multiple sports very well. They can't transfer what they know, and they can't, become put football in one place and put basketball in another, maybe put
That's
baseball in
weird to me,
another.
man. That is so
Some of
weird
them
to me.
can't do that. Well, you take a look at today's
That
kids.
is so weird to me because you know us growing up, we played kickball, we played basketball, we played dodgeball, we played basketball, we played all these different things, and that was just how it. I mean, you excelled in it, so you don't
Like
even
that.
think about it twice.
Yeah,
That's
it's not
weird to
like
me.
that anymore. You very seldom. Those kids are still there, but the vast amount of those kids are. They're not even sports specific as much as they just don't play enough of whatever that sport. Physically get out and actually do it. I mean, there was a study done that from a physical fitness standpoint, many of today's youth don't get enough physical fitness because they don't do anything. Everything they've done is from the computer, or they playing these video games and stuff like that, where that does have a plus. People try to make out that that's so negative. It's not 100% negative, but if that's all you're doing, then you're neglecting the other skills that could be learned. And so I run across a number of kids who just don't play enough basketball. They're just not playing enough. I mean, there's certain skills you pick up, there's certain behaviors that you learn,
But
and we don't do that. I mean, even in schools today, recreational programs,
right,
PE
yeah,
is
that's what I was going to
they're
ask you
not
about.
not the
I
same.
mean, because think about it, Vince. From elementary to on up junior high, so on, you had rec every day. You had PE every day. So they don't. I don't even know if they even do that anymore. So
They do
you
it
had that
most of
every day. You go
you
out,
got
you
PE
played
every
kickball, you
day.
played softball, you did this, you was outside playing.
Depends on where you are. Depends on where you are from a weather condition, whether or not you got a lot of outside activity, or if you're doing a lot of inside activity. But even that, a lot of these kids are not. They're barely participating. They do what they do in class. And yes, if they're playing softball this week, or whatever they're playing, they do it. But it's outside of that where they don't get much exercise beyond what they're doing in school. And I think schools are trying to address that, but that's only in school. So outside of school, what do? Many of them don't do anything. They really don't. They just depend on that hour so that's 5 hours a week that they get some physical fitness. And other than that, they don't do anything. Now, you do have another side of that, kids that really, really involved in multiple sports during season, off season, and that kid is excelling from a physical standpoint. And I also believe it has an impact on your mental capacity too, because you're challenging his or her ability to learn, to raise their IQ in a sport, and multiple sports, or just conditioning and all that. It's still a learning process. So I still think it's a plus for it. But with all of the other distractions that they have, the large, I think that percentage of kids that are doing what we used to do is diminished against the number of increase of other kids who were very, very non-active, if you will. Now their computer skills are good. They're excellent on the computers than a video game.
That's funny to
But there's
me.
no balance.
that
But that's just
that's just
today's
funny to me.
society. That's where we are. And you see it a lot.
Okay. Well,
I look at that and think that's not, I oftentimes think to myself, that's not what I came up with. I don't know it that way, but I'm learning. And I struggle with them sometimes when I expect them to be at certain places, but I understand why you're not, because you haven't been exposed to that.
well, before we get into the actual Super Bowl, I want to ask Hakeem, if he's still on. I want to ask Miss Thomas. I want to ask Doris Graham, which is a very good friend of mine. Doris and I've been knowing each other for about 500 years, and I need to give her a call just to see how. Oh, Happy New Year, Doris. And Coney, my friend. It's funny because I was thinking about my friend Coney. Coney and I grew up together ever since we were a little kid in the neighborhood. And I, want to ask Isaac, who you think gonna win the Super Bowl before we actually get on that. But I want to ask all of them who they think gonna win the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Now, any rumors, anything that you've heard, Vince, is about the NBA trade? Because we already know about Anthony. No, not
Yeah,
Anthony.
Davis.
Yeah, Anthony Davis. Anthony
Davis.
Davis.
There's an awful lot of rumor going on out there about some possible trades. There's some discussions that are being discussed. The major thing, of course, is Davis wanting to leave the Pelicans. 3 months ago or so, he bought a $13.3 million estate out there in California.
Uh-oh.
And so people then, at least I thought, there was a possibility that he might eventually want to go. I didn't think it would be as soon, but a lot of people say he's going to the Lakers. I don't think so. I think it's the Clippers that he may be wanting to go to, but we'll see. The Laker organization has changed their time schedule. They're trying to get another star, if you will, this year as opposed to putting off till next year. They're 6-11 right now with LeBron out. He won't play this Thursday. Probably he might not play until Sunday or sometime next week. So they're thinking they moved up their time schedule to see if they could get another guy in, and they're willing to give up a lot to do that because Alonzo Ball's name has been thrown around, Kyle Kuzma's name has been thrown around, Ingram's name has been thrown around. These are current Lakers. But again, it's a lot of hearsay, a lot of chatter going on, The only thing I've really been privy to would be the Anthony Davis situation.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised at some of the chatter too, because you're talking people who, because you got to move players that people want in order to create deals. You've got a couple of real big mega deals that are in conversation, multiple team deals that are taking place. So there could be some major surprises by February 7th. We could be shocked by some of the things that will come out of that. But it's all hearsay.
Vince,
right
this
now.
is the kind of fan that I am, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not that I would be spending money on some NBA tickets, but if Anthony Davis said he didn't want to be here anymore, then I wouldn't want to come see him anymore. But that's just me.
But you have to look at what they currently are doing too. He's on the introductory tape for the team at games. He's been removed from that. There's a good possibility he may not play anymore for the Pelicans until this is resolved. It's in essence removing him from the community slowly. That he's not there,
right?
Which accommodates that mindset, and also a protection too for him getting injured until this deal becomes a reality. So the fan loses, in a sense, the team loses, in a sense, the organization loses. But one of the things, they interviewed a Pelican player, one of Anthony Davis's teammates, and I thought his response was a good response. It's business.
Yeah.
It's business. I mean, do we want him to go? No. But is he right to make that? That's his decision. And like he was saying, he was talking about himself. He said, I don't hold it against him. It's his call. You got to do what's best for him. And I think that's, and it's always tough when you got a player that caliber, and especially if that's your favorite team. You really hate to see one of your favorite players move, but these guys have got to make decisions that's best for them in the long haul. He's been struggling down there. He's been a good trooper, in my opinion, to the Pelicans. When he had nothing and no support, he was putting up big numbers and fighting and trying to win. And they've had some injuries that have hurt him. He by himself. You got to figure some point in time he wants to get out. he would want to get out. And I think that's just the case. But they're taking the steps to try to make it a clean break, if you will.
I heard, and I may have been like in a deep sleep. I don't know if I had too much cough medicine, but I heard somebody say something about Carmelo Anthony going back to the Knicks. Was I like,
I haven't heard that. I have heard more that he would probably go out to the Lakers. Now, I've not read or seen anything to indicate that he would go back to the Knicks. That to me would be a little bit strange, given Fizdale and their attitude about the kind of team that they're trying to put together and the young talent that they have. I can't say no. I certainly can't say no, but I'm just thinking in my head. And here's a question I ask, and I say this repeatedly, and I know, and I don't see the value in Carmelo. If he brought some value in the locker room as a leader or something like that, I could see that. If he was providing some positive aspect to the team, I could see him being on somebody's basketball team. He's not shooting the ball well. He has never played any defense. He's a cancer. He wants more than what he's worth from a financial standpoint. He wants to start. Nobody's going to let him start. I just don't see what positive he brings. I don't get it. That's for me. And I could be blinded. I could be not seeing the whole picture. But I don't see him going back to the Knicks. I mean, I'd be crazy in my opinion. But, stranger things happen. I wouldn't have believed that he would be even being discussed to go into the Lakers. The Lakers got enough problems as it is. Why would you bring him up? I don't see that. But, I mean, they're moving him around just like Houston sent him to Chicago. It's a contractual thing. It's about moving money. And I get that part. It takes the burden off of them. They put the burden on Chicago. Chicago said, hey, I fill that gap with that financial responsibility for a day. And then we're going to waive him off. Okay. So then the Lakers are saying, well, we're going to pick him up. Well, you can get him for cheap. I get that. But why? Why do you want him? I just don't understand why they want him. I don't understand that.
wow, yeah. I heard and I saw that in the discussion of Ball at the Lakers, which I think, and I was intending to ask you this a few weeks ago, because we haven't heard anything from his father in a long time. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think Magic Johnson just told him he needs to zip it. If you want your son here in a Laker uniform, you need to zip it, because he's been real quiet. But I understand that Ball, if there's a trade, he would like to go to the Knicks. Had you heard that?
No, what I heard recently that they didn't want him. They didn't want to be traded at all. But I think that he doesn't have an option on that. But I take that back. The Knicks was a possible destination. Yes, not that it was a serious consideration, but it was something that was thrown out there. They've been resisting trade opportunities with coming because he's come up with a couple of injuries. And that's kind of slowed down because I think they wanted to trade him earlier, but he got hurt and it didn't happen. Dad, on the other hand, is pushing the middle son right now. He's playing in that league he put together. He's putting up some big numbers. I saw a 19-10 the other day, or a 19-12, something like that he put up in there. Dad is kind of softened his approach a little bit. He's still out there pushing the middle son. Supposedly he and Magic Johnson did have a conversation early on when Ball came on about his persona, if you would. And Magic came away saying that Dad was just simply doing a marketing job, promoting his son, and that's kind of how they left it. But it also was a thought that Magic had, in fact, kind of said the narrative that you said, listen, we got this now. You can just relax. We don't need you to market for us. We can market for ourselves. Why don't you just shut up and be Dad? And I'm paraphrasing what I believe happened. I don't know that to be a fact. But yeah, he has been quiet. And plus that incident when the young man got picked up overseas for stealing. That I think, and then he had this reality series that was going on about his family that they had put. I've never seen an episode of that. I don't know
I've
if
never
that's
seen
really.
it.
I know it was being filmed, but I don't know if it ever premiered yet or not.
I haven't seen it and wouldn't want to see it.
I mean, I'm not sure what I want to see. I just want to, because I think it'll prove some stuff that I already thought. So I want to be able to see it so I can say, yeah, just what he's the idiot I thought he was.
You, you know, I have heard them talk about this here. Have you ever? Because I've never seen it, but have you ever seen Hard Knocks? Any of that? Because I've never seen it, but I hear them talk about it on the radio all the time.
Mm-mm, I have
Have you
not.
ever seen any of it? Hard Knocks
No,
from from the NFL?
no, no, I have
Because
not.
that would have to be kind of tough because you know we kind of. I mean, Vince. I've been working in video for forever and a day, and let me tell you
Hmm.
something. Whether you walk in the room with a camera to take pictures, or you walk in the room with a camera to video, everything
Hmm.
changes when people see a camera. All of a sudden, they become somebody else. I'm telling you, it's just something about whether or not they don't want to be filmed or they can't wait to be filmed. But when they
Hmm.
see a camera, all of a sudden, something else comes out. So here you are, NFL. You already got an ego off the chain and all this other stuff, and you already know you. I can only imagine what practice and all of that, would be like. I mean, it
Well,
got to be a little crazy because
now
I've heard, sports announcers talk about this series, but I've never seen it.
I've seen there there was a series, and I don't, man, maybe this was Hard Knocks, and I didn't know it, but they did a series on the Cowboys a few years ago, preseason, and they walked through early practice, through the practice sessions, coaches meetings, behind the scenes look at what as they were preparing for that season. And it went from training camp up to the last preseason game. It didn't go into the regular season, but it went up to the last preseason game. It gave you a look into what practice was like, practice preparation, players being cut, coaches meetings and stuff like that, which was kind of interesting. And it was all being filmed, and really was quite interesting to look at that. Also, there was another series, and I don't know if it was Hard Knocks or not because I don't recall the name of that on a couple other teams as they were preparing through the preseason time, what it looked like, how it felt, guys getting cut, what practice was like, and that kind of stuff. And that was all being videoed. And I don't, so that's it, and that as opposed to a reality show is a little bit different, as you know. That brings on a whole different situation. But there have been a few of those like that. I find that interesting because you get a chance to really see because this thing is far more complex and difficult than most people imagine it is. There's a lot of heartbreak in sport and people who come out enthusiastically to be a part of this, and then they get cut or injury comes into play, and they covered all of that. But I don't recall that being called Hard Knocks. It may have been, and I didn't know it.
Oh yeah, because I know that they did the Buccaneers, and I think like
Hmm.
they pick a different team each season.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So that may
and
very well have been what I was watching. Um, because this happened, and what caught my attention was it was the Cowboys, and I was kind of interested to see some behind the scenes stuff and just kind of understanding how they do what they do.
there was a this was a few years ago, and I think it's called Friday Nights.
Friday Night Lights,
Yeah, yeah,
my high school football.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little small town. I forget what city. I never did actually see that. I knew it
Actually,
was on, but
yeah. Actually, that's pretty good. Yeah,
that's
you
what
would like that. But I also
I've never.
saw a series of what they did. They followed a Miami high school
Mm-mm.
team. It might have been Miami Jackson. I think it may have been Miami Jackson or something like that. And I I loved it from the standpoint that it was real, Vince.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if you could go film that today because it's different now. because you know, it was nothing to cuss them out, nothing to jack them up. That was a few years ago, but it was real. And for a lot of people, and let me be politically correct in how I say this. My coaches in high school knew how to talk to us, and they knew how to relate to us. And I think to this day, and I tell my peers when I go home and we've had this conversation over a period of time, that I think that God put these two gentlemen in place to deal with us, because it took them who understood and how to communicate. Because for someone who may not understand, wouldn't under, would not understand how we felt loved, cared for, despite what they think they see. And I think you know what I'm talking about. So you talk to us in a way in which they know how to communicate. It's nothing foreign. It's not looking at something strange. But I can remember specifically my coach saying to me in 10th grade, I tried to come in here and talk with you and coach you guys without cussing you out. But I realized y'all ain't gonna do a boop boop thing until I boop 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 boop. And it was funny to us because when he started boop boop boop, boop, he was just being his normal self. And it was just
Right.
right. So we still laugh at that to this day because it was no big deal. And the thing of it is, Vince, we knew we was loved. So it was nothing strange to us. It was normal.
It's different now.
Right.
Obviously, it's
Yeah,
different.
because that same coach, I asked him maybe about 6, 7 years ago. I said, Fox, I said, the way you coached us, can you coach that way now? Because now he's over at Rebound High School. I mean, he's retired now, but a few years ago he was over at Rebound High School in Jacksonville. And I said, can you coach now the way you coach? He said, no, man, I'll be on 11 o'clock news every night.
Yeah.
He said, no, I can't,
The
no, there's
atmosphere,
no way.
yeah, the atmosphere has changed because while his was in love, others were not in love. And so it makes it all look bad. You got coaches out there who I played under football and a very tough guy. I mean, he was just relentless. He was very loose in his analogies, very straight point and very straightforward in his conversation. He was very colorful the way he described things. He didn't care how you took it, but he did care. You knew he cared, but he just expressed it differently. And on the same coaching staff, had another coach that was entirely different, but they all cared. Their approach was different. But then you've got situations where these guys abuse kids. I mean, not only verbally, but physically. They put them in unsafe situations. You got kids who are saying they're hurt and they're making them play while they're hurt. You don't believe him when he says he has a headache. You think he's trying to get out of something. You're denying him water. You're denying him breaks and all this kind of stuff in order to discipline them. And while people say that's ridiculous, that's unheard of, it has happened.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
today's climate is so different, and you
Right.
still got coaches that are very animated in the way they coach their kids. You got a lot of, but you got active parents now. You got parents who while maybe one time before might not have said anything because they consider it as you helping them raise their kids. Today's parents don't look at it like that. They don't feel the same way. And that's not only in the high school ranks, that's in the collegiate ranks. There have been incidences where college coaches have had to, explain themselves because this kid called home to mom, or mom got the impression, or dad got the impression, and and so they're far more active. In my opinion, they're too active. I think
Right.
the administration are too soft on what team sport is about. I'm all about not abusing the kid verbally or physically. I don't believe harsh conversation, colorful. I don't believe in swearing at them, but being direct to them, raising my voice, if you will, making my point strongly. I think that's a part of life, not only a part of sport. It's just how it's done. And
Right.
yes, each coach, in my opinion, has to learn how to communicate with his kids, but not only his kids, but each individual kid. Because that means I think you take the time to get to know them so you know how to motivate them, how to build relationships with them, and how to communicate with them. And it's a time consuming task, I agree, but I think it's necessary. And good coaches do that. So when they're speaking to their team in what we would consider to be harsh language, you look across the room and sometimes the kids are laughing. They know what he means. They understand what he said, but they say that's funny, man. Coach mad now, as opposed to when coach is really mad and the room is very silent. That's
Well,
because you build a relationship with them. And kids understand that, while he's saying is, coach is trying to be funny, as opposed to when coach said coach is being serious.
right. And then the thing, Vince, I would love to have a interacting with Facebook, especially with parents, mothers who have kids, or if they can share some of their moments of experiences of when they have said something to the coach, or when the coach has said something to the child, how that they view it, good or bad. Because I grew up in an era where the parents didn't say anything to the coach. I mean, the parents just didn't say anything to the coach. You just looked at the coach like, well, he know what he's doing, and he know how to deal with my child. So there was nothing that was ever said to the coach. But now
But that's
it's
different.
totally different. It's different.
Well, it's also different socioeconomically too, where you are, what kind of community you're dealing with, because certain communities you have a lot of parental involvement, a lot of parental support of that child. So the coach's responsibility now is less a mentor and more a coach. He spends more time coaching than he does mentoring per se. He doesn't have to be a father figure because there is a father figure. His job is to coach. Then you have other situations where there are no father figures, and now this coach has to wear multiple hats. He has to be that father figure. He has to be that mentor, and then he has to try to coach and be a disciplinarian as well. Great challenge. Some coaches do well with it, and some don't.
Right.
But you have to know when that's needed and when it's not needed. Um, and when you have parental support, I think that's great, and that you have it. But that allows you more time to coach. Now you still got disciplinary actions, discipline you got, and still, I still got to teach to do it the way I want to get it done. But I'm not mentoring as much, and I'm not being a father image as much as I'm coaching, and that's on both sides, male and female. Whether she then now has to be a parental figure to the young lady that she's coaching, that's tough. And it helps in one sense. It's fulfilling in yet another that you have that kind of responsibility. It can be overwhelming at times, that you have that much responsibility on your plate. But it's different. Different communities bring on different challenges. When you have the more parental support you have, the more parental suggestion you get, or criticism that you get, because they see it differently. They see, this is the way I see it done. This is the way I do it in my household, but this is not your household. When you have less parental involvement, then you're setting a standard of what the expectations of this kid, and sometimes in support of mom and dad, which goes back to mom and dad as an improved situation. So it's different. It's different
Now,
today.
now,
People are
Vince,
just different.
going back to some years, did any of your other sons play any sports?
My youngest son did. All
So,
of them did.
right.
Yeah, all of them
So,
played.
so my question to you, as you had these athletes that you were raising, was there ever a time where there was ever a question, where you questioned the coach, or you thought of like, whoa, like what is this man, a man or woman doing, with my child? I mean, was that ever an issue?
Yeah, frequently, but I never went to the coach and asked him, "What are you doing?" I never did that. I would always ask my kid, "What is the coach asking you to do? What does he want you to do? And let me see if I can help you with that." I never would infuse my thought into what I think you should do it this way. Mm-mm. If that's what the coach wants you to do, I'm going to help you do what the coach wants you to do. When they ask me, when my kids would ask me, well, Dad, what do you think? Tell me what your coach thinks. It's
Right.
not my opinion that counts. It doesn't matter what I think.
Right.
I'm going to try to help you do. Now, when I talk to my contemporaries, my peers, I might say, man, I don't agree with that. But I would never go to him and question, why is my kid not playing?
Right.
Or why are you running your offense or defense? That never ever crossed my mind.
Well, see,
Because
now I'm, like I'm the same way because when my brother was dealing, when his twins were playing, when he was having a conversation with me, and I'm looking at him like, boy, don't you sound like the typical parent. I'm serious. I'm looking at him because he's talking to me, and I'm like, but that's part of it. Your child need to figure out why and what's going on. They need to go through to figure out what they need to do to get on whatever side they need to get on the side. Because I mean, it was freshmen coming in and they talking about why they not playing it. And then the funny thing is, Vince, as my brother and his wife was talking, but when I went and talked with the twin daughters, they knew they had the answer and they told me. It was, which made all the sense in the world, and it was the truth. But now I'm looking at the parent, my brother, I'm looking at him like, you should know this, But I didn't say anything. I'm just looking like, boy, parents. I mean, that's all I can say was just parents. It's
a lot
crazy.
of times, and parents, I had a situation, I was involved in a situation where a parent had requested a meeting to talk to a reference to their son. And the son got wind of it and went back home and said, don't do that. I don't need you to go talk to coach about me and what I'm doing. And he attempted to explain to her and the family what his position was. And that could, because one of the things I believe in talking to the kid. Talking to mom or dad doesn't help because you're not out there performing. You're not going to have any impact or minimum impact. Let me say minimum impact on what this kid is doing. So I've always believed that if you want to know what's going on, ask your child. Because in where I am, and the belief that I work up under, is we're going to tell him every day, once a week, he's going to know exactly where he stands. So it's not a guess. I don't think I'm doing, no, here's where you are, and here's what you need to work on. So the kid gets that. That's what we're doing now. So it's never, I don't understand. Oh yeah, you understand. You may not want to articulate it to your family. That's your call. I don't have anything to do with that. So a lot of times when parents want to talk about where my kid's playing time, we're not going to discuss that with you. You talk to him about that. We don't talk about playing style. We don't talk about other kids. We don't have those kind of discussions. I'm not going to talk about somebody else's child. I'm not going to talk about the style in which we play, and I'm not going to talk about your child's playing time.
Right.
Not going to have those discussions.
Well, let's talk about Roger Goodell and him addressing what do you say? We don't have time to get into your 3-minute sprint because of the time, but we save it for next week. But wanted to ask you as we close out talking about the Super Bowl and who you pick, who you're picking. But Roger Goodell had to eventually address the big pink elephant in the room.
Right.
And but what can you say? But other than they blew the call.
I don't know if there's any other explanation. I think he can come up with a political answer that we want to try to get it right.
Right.
We're going to try to correct it when it's wrong. Here's a case in point where we didn't get it right, and we're going to have to address that in a situation. That's to me. What else? What else can he do?
Right, and then the thing is, Vince, it's like I said, we try to overcompensate, all the time in sports, in every sport, and I don't really think, honestly, that there's really too much that they can do. They just blew the call. It was obviously a bad non-call. I mean, really bad, really, really bad. But it's just like, Okay, okay, that's
Well,
it.
I do think if you want to address something, is you have to address the competency of the person that was involved. I
Right,
do think
right,
they have to look at that because this was not a first year official. This was a season official and crew, and you've got to look. There needs to be some type of action taken, maybe a suspension or something for what was a blatant missed call. But some of the things that I heard, some people say, well, he needs to be fired. That was an option. Okay, I don't know. That could be. You talk about then now making more plays reviewable, which would lengthen the length of the game. We talked
right,
about that the other day. Now the game is a 5 hour game. People don't want to watch. As much as I love it, I'm not going to watch it for 5 hours.
right.
And so there are a whole lot of things that were thrown out for possible correcting, but I think it still comes. In my opinion, was you don't have to do any of that.
Right,
This was a blown call, Mr.
right.
Official. You missed this call. Now, is there something in your bylaws or policies that you can address this kind of blatant misconduct, if you will? If not, it needs to be. What sanctions are you going to give this guy? Maybe he won't call another player or whatever, and let's move on.
Right.
Let's
There
get
you
because
go.
it's done.
To
Now, if
me,
you could
because
change,
I think
it
that
was
if
not.
they would address what you said, if you would address that as in to say the official, I think it would eliminate a whole lot of other stuff. Well, not for
Yeah, I
everybody,
mean,
because no matter what you do,
yeah,
there's
people
some
gonna.
there's some people you just can't make happy. But
I,
just if you would just address, say, hey, you know what, he was docked some pay. He's
or
gonna be
some
suspended some games or something.
whatever your policy is,
Right.
whatever it is that you do, you got to have something in there. If you don't, then you need to put something in there.
Right.
That because what it does, just like anything else, it's a performance enhancer. These guys get evaluated from game to game on certain games. That's how they, based on their evaluation, these becomes your playoff and Super Bowl officials. Well, this is a ding. This is a huge ding against him to show that he made a bad call, and then we just move on. Now all these other things they're talking about uh, um, don't make sense. I mean, one guy was saying, commentator, he made a good point though. He said, well, then if nothing else, fire the guy, and then let's move on.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I'm not advocating the guy losing his job, but it's a closure. It's a way of closing this thing up. This thing is going on and on and on. It was a blown call. Everybody saw it. Millions of people saw it, and millions of people agreed it was a bad call. It is a
Yeah,
bad
it,
call.
it was. I
So
mean,
say
I
it.
mean, I could be a Rams fan, and I would have to say, man, that call sucked.
It was a bad call. It
It
was
was
100%
bad.
I mean, I've seen nothing and read nothing that gave a different opinion. Now, what I did not see, I was trying to see somebody who wanted to say they saw it the same way the official. I've not read that yet. I'm not
Usually,
saying it's not out.
because Vince, usually you have those.
Yeah, you
Usually
do.
you
You
have
have
a
some
few of
people who
those.
would agree. And there may very well be somebody out there like that, but I haven't read it yet. I have not read it yet. It was a blown call. It was on a major play, major stage. It's not like it's the first one. There have been
Right,
some other ones, but this one was big because of the timing of it,
right.
the value of it, and all of those things. I mean, just a big stage play, and he blew it.
Okay. Well, before we get out of here, give me the prediction, and if anybody else, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Periscope, you got to give me the prediction of who you think gonna win.
Well, my prediction is I think the Rams will win it. I think it's hard to go against the Patriots, but I really like what the Rams bring to the table. I think they could create um, um, some difficulty for the Patriots, and they're going to have to play. It should be at a minimum a very interesting game, but I'd like to see the Rams win it.
All right. Well, um, I'm picking the Rams as well. I'm saying the Rams. Uh, I'm saying the Rams, boy. But somehow, those darn Patriots. When you have
It's
those,
hard to go against the Patriots.
well,
It is. I
well,
mean, I think that the
well.
Rams
What
bring a.
bothers me, Vince, honestly, is the mental breakdowns, because they will take, if you don't have those mental breakdowns, then yeah. But those which I still say to this day, as much as we love the quarterback, to me, what always saved New England is their defense. It's always their defense, but we don't give them enough credit because we love to talk about Brady and Belichick, which is cool, but it's really the defense that usually wins those games for them, to put them in the position to make plays to come back to win.
Well, you cannot deny Brady's execution. Defense has nothing to do with that. The fact that he can throw an accurate pass, the receiver runs an accurate route, and he delivers that ball on time. That's hard to deny. He
Well,
proved
that's what I
that
meant
last
by the
game.
defense put
But
them
the
in
defense,
position to make those
defense,
plays.
but he
Is
still
what I'm
has to
saying.
he still has to execute it. He still has to make it done because those guys played a pretty good defense. Threading that ball through a needle through two defenders to get to that. I mean, that's hard to deny. I mean, and he's capable. It's not that he's the first time he's ever done it. He's done it several times.
It's
But
the
I just
offensive
think that
line.
the Rams bring so
Offensive
much
line.
exuberance to the field. The coach, he's a risk taker. He's got them pumped up. I really think they got a shot at it. I mean, they got a real good shot at it. Patriots, they own the house. They own the house. But I'm just going to go against the house. I just think the Rams are going to bring such exuberance to the field that they could possibly hamper the Patriots to win that game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm a little bit worried about the Rams quarterback myself, but still I think the team effort that they put forth, because in all three phases of the game, their offensive production on the ground, and he does a pretty good job in the air, the defense and the special teams. They kind of match them in terms of how well both of them execute in those three phases of the game. It'll come down to coaching. The Rams coach is a risk taker, man. He's excited, man. I mean, he got those guys really excited about playing that. On the other side, experience, mature ball players. There's a lot to be said about that. That's why I think it's going to be an interesting clash or interesting game. But I just like to see the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams and say they're going to create an upset.
Well, we asking the question on Twitter. We're asking the question on YouTube. We're asking the question on Facebook. We're asking the question on Instagram and everywhere else. We're asking the question even on the moon. Who you think gonna win the Super Bowl? So with that, Vince is saying the Rams. I'm saying the Rams. I'm hoping the Rams anyway. Because I would like to see them win. It's funny because the question was asked, when was the last time, and then when you think of the Rams, you forgot it was the St. Louis Rams, that won the Super Bowl, I think back in 2000. So it was the St. Louis Rams. So, but when you think of, you and I are old school, so we always remember the Los Angeles Rams from back in the day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Ron Gabriel and
Right.
those guys out there. But he's done a
Deacon,
good job.
that was Deacon. No. Was it Deacon? No. Who was the defensive guy? Was it Deacon Jones? No, Deacon Jones
I
played
think
for Baltimore, right?
no, Deke played.
Yeah, was it Deacon Jones that played for the Rams?
I think it was Deacon Jones. Yeah,
Yeah,
out of
yeah, yeah.
Edenville. Out of Edenville, yeah.
Right.
But you never know. I mean, somebody's gonna beat them. Somebody's gonna beat them. They're not gonna stay there forever.
Oh yeah.
But I think that the Patriots have a lot of this year. They're coming in with a lot of internal turmoil. They've done a good job of masking it to get this far because I didn't think they would get back to the Super Bowl. They got back. It's hard to go against them when they're there, but I just believe that the possibility exists that the Rams could knock it off on us. So I'm hanging my hat with the Rams.
All right. With that being said, and you said that you got a game Friday night. You said you got a game Friday
Friday
night.
night, another big game Friday night. This is our other crosstown rival. They're coming to our house.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough to win at their house early in the season. Now we get to play them again at our house.
How many points did you win by?
Um, it was a significant amount of number, but they've changed since then. Obviously, that was early in the season,
Okay.
and they were missing a few players. They've picked up some different players. They've been playing reasonably good ball. They have gotten better, but what I also say, like I tell our team, they've gotten better, but so have we.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Well, stay warm, brother.
Amen.
Don't go out there and you know, try and build a
I'm not
snowman.
I'm not playing in the snow. I'm not playing in the snow.
All right. Well, this is Youth Central Sports. I'm Charles Morris with the original Coach Carter. Oh, by the way, you know what? You should try to get the other Carter to come on the show. Because I know you talked to him. You should get him to come on the show. That would be very informative. You should
Yeah, the
ask him.
next time he's down in that area at least once a month that I'm aware, or at least he was. We haven't talked in about 6 weeks, but next time I talk to him, see if we can coordinate something and have him either come see you or we can do a three-way one night if I can catch
Well, I
him,
mean,
keep him still.
he can do it over the internet just like you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
we can
yeah,
do a three-way.
yeah,
But the thing is trying to nail him down. He's a busy man, and he
yeah.
pops around a lot. But hopefully, the next time he call me, or next time I'm able to make contact with him, we'll see if we can set that up because that would be interesting because he's got a heck of a story to tell.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And the thing is, Vince, I used to have his phone number, but I don't. You know what? I don't know what I did with it. I used to have his phone number because I called him
It
a few
might not
times
be the
when he was
same number.
asking me something about his book and
Yeah,
something about the
it
videos they're
may have
doing.
changed. He moves around a lot. I'm not even sure where. Last time we talked, I was in California. He was in New York, and when I got to New York, he was in California. Yeah. And so then and he comes in and out of Florida. He was in Florida not too long ago, and he called me and said, "Hey man, let's meet." And I said, "Nah, I can't do that because I'm not there."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm looking for him to turn up here in Tennessee.
okay. All right. Well, we be talking about the Super Bowl and probably, and I think the NBA playoff game is coming up, and the trade. So we have a lot to talk
Yeah,
about next week, and you give us the 411 on not only the weather, but your game on Friday as well.
on Friday. Yeah, we look forward to sharing that with you.
All right, everybody. For those out there, even here in the South, bundle up, make sure that you keep warm and don't do
Yeah,
anything crazy. All right. Until next week,
amen.
Charles Morris with the original Coach Carter. You have yourself a blessed week.
Be blessed.